is a synopsis. So it's basically a summary of the book for agents and editors to understand your story. That's the gist of it. So you need to be really convincing in order to sell your product. I know it sounds harsh to say that your book is a product, but there's a business part to publishing that it is true. They are trying to invest in your products to make a profit for everyone. So you do have to keep that in mind and distance yourself a little so that it's not your creative baby. They're not trying to attack you personally if it's a no. It just means that it's not a right fit, maybe at the time. So when you're doing a proposal, you always want to think of the four main audiences. The first one is you yourself, because it's a big commitment to work on a graphic novel or a comics in general. You do have to love what you do. You can't just do it for, I think the kids will love it, but I hate it. I don't think it's going to work, not in the long run anyway. Of course, you have to keep the readers in mind. Again, age appropriateness, that comes down to art style, that comes down to the language, that comes down to what specific kind of kids would like this story. Agents and acquiring editors, they are looking for something slightly, I wouldn't say different, but it's an expanded thing. They're also thinking about the market. How well can this book sell? If I present it in my acquiring meeting, what is the odds of marketing and publicity team being excited about the project? These are the things that, while it's not your main focus, you have to at least think about it, because it's not exactly a fine art project you're working on. And publishing houses aren't the Medici family just deciding to throw in money to add cultural values to society, which they do, and I applaud them for that. But in addition, they are also looking at their investors and the business model in general. So these are things, if you want to increase your odds in making your proposal stand out, you do have to keep these things in mind, which means that in your proposal, you make it as easy for them as possible to see why it is so good to acquire, to invest in your project. In order to grab their attention, first of all, I am an illustrator myself, so I always make the cover page as exciting as possible. I want someone to look at the cover page and go, oh, this immediately gives a sense of, or a feeling of what this story is heading. It's adventure, it's bam, it's a bunch of fun characters coming out of the page. Monkey King and the World of Myths. And I give them a series summary. And to me, that's almost like a synopsis, but not yet, because I didn't tell them exactly what would happen in detail. But it gives them a general idea of what I'm thinking. Unless I can communicate very clearly, hey, this is what you're buying. You are a consumer yourself. You know that when you buy something, you always want to know what you're spending your money on. And if it's a very vague description, I'm not going to spend money buying that thing, which is why I try my best to do it in an exciting way. Okay, this is what I'm thinking. There's the Wukong, the Monkey King, and instead of the traditional Journey to the West story, he is going to different world mythologies. And because I'm very visual and I'm an illustrator, I always spice up the whole presentation with a lot of illustrations. And it also adds to the feeling of, look, there is Wukong the Monkey King, and he's riding on Cerberus the three-headed dog, and behind him are two Japanese yokai. You know immediately, even if you don't know the world mythologies well yet, that this is not the traditional Chinese mythology only, but it's a mixed world mythology where all the characters interact with each other in this particular world. I would tell them what happened exactly in each chapter. And you can do this. I've seen a lot of proposals doing this on a regular 8.5 by 11, and that's totally cool. I only do this because remember, I did a lot of proposals back in my days as the designer, and I like to spice things up constantly. So I like to put it in a fun layout, not in a crazy layout, but something that's readable like a magazine. And I just tell them in each chapter, this is what I'm thinking. Chapter 1, Chapter 3, all the way to chapter, well, I didn't call it chapter 10, I call it an epilogue. These things will change, and they have changed. But for the acquiring editor or for the agent who is looking at it, they know exactly what you're thinking. You don't need to, like, oh, what will happen? You don't need to hide anything for them. They need to know exactly what they're buying again. So tell them exactly what you're thinking in each chapter. And then I gave them sample artwork. This is to show them that I have the capability to storytell in a comics format. I gave them way more than what I suspect is needed. I think I gave them 20 colored pages and then 20 inked pages. I feel like I might have given a lot, but again, this was my first major proposal for a kids graphic novel that I am sending out to publishers. I wasn't entirely sure how many I'm supposed to give, so I played it on the safe side. And after that, I gave a bit of character description. This is to showcase that I can draw. Trust me, you don't need to invest in a project feeling that, but I don't know what I'm getting. You know exactly what you're getting because I've gave you a sample artwork, and I'm now giving you the feel of the character. So this is a whimsical little character who might be a little bit of a troublemaker. And I also gave them some characters that might appear in book 1, and I think another one in book 2 as well. But again, give them a clear idea of what they are buying. And last but not least, there is a section in my proposal that says, okay, here is why. Well, I didn't say exactly, here's why you should buy this, because I don't want to say it out loud like this, but it's really implied. I'm telling them why there's a market in investing in this project, basically. And as I go, okay, Journeys to the West is extremely popular in China and a lot of countries in the Far East. So they know that, okay, this is a proven market, at least in the other part of the globe. It's really popular. It's an ageless classic, and it's probably a safe bet that there will be a market for it. And I tell them I grew up reading a lot of manga and stories, basically, that is inspired by Journey to the West. And this gives them a sense of why I am a good fit and why I'm unique to tell this particular story, because I have a lot of experience reading about this story, and I love the story since I was a kid. And then I tell them further, it's like, oh, look, there are a lot of adaptations and inspirations for the story in popular culture. And look, Wukong appeared in Fortnite, in Dota 2, it's in Netflix series. And at least in my head, if I were an acquiring editor, I'd go, okay, so other people had seen this character and believe in it enough to invest in it. So it's probably a safer bet for our company, for my team, to say yes to this project. And last but not least, I also told them, and it periodically appear in American children's books and literature, which is great because they also know, okay, well, then it's relatively recent. It's not like, oh, this story appeared 100 years ago and nobody believes it. No, it appears over and over again, and there is a market for it. So it's just me explaining in sections why this story has a market and why I'm a good fit for writing this particular story. And you always want to say thank you because that's the good thing to do. That's it.